Привет, мир! С вами Playboy Атомный и игрушка «Иначе разбить сердце». Сегодняшний эпизод посвящен интервью с Эриком Свонксоном, которое я переведу на английский язык для зрителей, которые смотрят на английском языке. Попробую, к чему это приведет, будет ли больше зрителей именно англоязычных и иностранцев. И, собственно, попытаюсь немного развить тематику двуязычных видео. Посмотрим, что из этого получится. Если вы не знаете английского языка, то можете смело переходить к следующей серии. Если знаете, ну, можете послушать, можете чем-то даже подсказать, там, как-то лучше сделать, да? На этом перехожу на английский язык. Hello world, my name is Comrade Itemny, and today we are playing the Else Heart.break game. Today is a special episode concerning my interview with the Eric Swonson, developer of this game, Else Heart.break. I was eager to contact him and to ask some questions, so here is his response. Let's go to some place where there is a lot of different stuff, and we will start from out there. Okay. So right here there is many objects that are not used in the game. For example, we can see here like a photo camera. Yeah, like that. Maybe need to pass something like more. Okay. No, that's not good. Not good. We have another object right here. Like there is another table, and here are cameras again. You see that? This is photo camera. So at the early stages of the development, photo camera was supposed to make screenshots in the game. But then developers thought, what for those screenshots are? They are not needed in the game, so they excluded this ability for photo camera to make these screenshots from the game. And they cut off this item. This item with like a sound speakers. I don't know exactly what it is. Eric doesn't know what this object is for because he developed the game like 10 years ago or 8 years, so he does not remember. There is also books, and at some time those books acted like floppy disks. So we could hack them, read information, and copy that information. But after Eric implemented floppy disks, books was not needed, and they were cut off, so they became not interactable as they was in first place. Let's see what we have here. I did not ask questions about this red stuff. Like a marker, I don't know what is it exactly, and this battery. But this object exists in the game, and I don't know this. I want to make like a second interview with the questions to Eric about the different objects in the game. So if you are interested to know some stuff about the game, write down those questions below the video, so you can hear his response. I don't know where this second interview would be, or is it possible to be, but something like that I want to do. There is trombone. It does not. It is not interactable object, but at some point it was interactable, and it was as a musical box. We hear like radio objects, like where here this radio. Yeah, it is represented in the game like a music box type of the object. So this trombone was just the same code as a radio, as other music box object. But then they cut off this opportunity. I don't know why, and they implemented trombone because few of the developer teams they used to play music. They used to play trombone, so they decided to implement that in the game. Now let's talk about video camera, yeah? The surveillance camera. Here it is. As you see, this camera watches our movements. And if you watched carefully episodes, you could see that in the city there are more these cameras, and they always watch the main character. By the way, interesting to see what the code of this camera is, because it's really always concentrated on the main character. And my problem is that I managed to change the main character as a playable character, and but there is a problem. I cannot target camera on the new character. So I can control new character, but the camera still runs concentrates on Sebastian, and character just walks and does not stay in the middle of the camera. This is a problem. So what those cameras are supposed to do? At some point there was an idea that character could hack cameras and watch different points in the city via this surveillance cameras. But it was close to what was made in the Duke Nukem 3D, where there's monitors, you connects to them, and then you watch the streets, what they're looking like. I can show you how that could be seen, like teleporting here. Let's hug. No, not Nicky room. Not that. Let's go to testing. Not the hard, but testing chamber. Testing room. Just testing. I will show you. Well, no. That's not testing right yet. This is too early. Okay, so I will comment that down and go to hotel exterior. Yeah, I will show you how those cameras was supposed to work. We need to comment this section. Okay. Right down, let's teleport, and I will insert some code right now. As I copied that in clipboard. Now let's walk. So we can see that here our camera is concentrated on main character, but we can change that. So here there is few places in the game where we can change the position of the camera. One is in experimental hall, and here is some points for cameras that was made for the trailer. But this would show you how it works. So I'm opening the command panel for second language programming that's called Grim. So here you see camera changed its point of view, and now we are not controlling, so it is not turning around the main character. This is how this cameras was supposed to work. So you connected to this camera and watched the street from some angle, or it turned in some pre-fabbed direction. Yes, like that. And this is the problem with the other characters. So there is function to switch main character to the other character and control the different character, but the cameras doesn't follow the new characters. It stay like this. Let me return the main again control to the main. We can do like this. Oh look, no. Let's delete that. Yes, trailer camera B, and let's change this point to Sebastian and see how it works. Sebastian. Run. You see, the camera now changed its point of view to concentrate Sebastian. But again, if Sebastian walks anywhere, the camera loses its target point. So now again it is pointed on some special point. Let's delete, for example, Sebastian. Can we do that? Yes, like that. and the camera does not work, so it returned to the usual type of working. So it works around this bastion like that. Again, this is the camera. This is camera concentrated on Sebastian, so on point, and this is where this, yeah, this is a camera that does not follow the point. It's now concentrated purely on Sebastian and can be easy to control, something like that. So there's how this camera is supposed to work, but there was technical difficulties, so this code was terminated and cut off from the game. Yes, let's go again to Nikki room, or not to Nikki room, let's go to testing room. Teleporting device, press button. Okay. So there also was such a feature in the game in early developments, that there was like lockers in the game, and now there is only one locker that remained. Well, what is put down? I don't need. No. Put down that. So this is the only one locker that remained in the game, and it does not work. So it was not like just inventories use, you know, those red case or any other cases where we can store different items. Well, here camera again follows us. It was made a different way. It was supposed to be like a special room in which you could teleport, and you could take out there some stuff. It would be placed like this, and there is in some series there are like a room where I found this modifier, this hide and hack dev modifier. It was in that room. That around it was textures of like you are inside the case. That room was used. This was implementation of the idea of lockers, a separate room where you can find objects, where you can hide in those lockers, and it was used in the game. There was like a quest that is cut off, where you need to go to unknown location in a ministry. You can't teleport there or pass to that room any other way. So what the quest was is you needed to teleport to the case of the one of the ministry workers, and then he walked to the building and put that case to the ministry. Then you popped out of the case in the ministry room and continued your quest. It was like that, but there was again technical difficulties, and all those ideas was cut off with that quest. Yeah, with that quest too. So nowadays lockers doesn't work. It would be nice that it worked like those cases like right now, but not implemented. So there was like this glitch that we can't actually make a wellspring soda in the vending machines. And Sebastian and Eric was amazed by that, because he thought that it is possible, and he told that he would try to fix it if he ever managed to compile the program once more, or return to that project, because there's like problems with the project. Eric did not told that, but judging by his behavior and attitude, he no longer interested in developing this game and supporting this game. This is like a psychological side. But the other side is that this game cannot be compiled due to it was developed on the earlier versions of the Unity engine, and now this engine updated, and some updates made drastical changes, and the new versions of the game does not compile on the new versions of Unity engine. So he cannot compile new versions of the game, and this is a huge problem. Okay, I talked about that. I don't need the Coke. Why do I need that? Okay, teleporting device. Maybe coffee. Maybe let's drink about coffee, and I will see some other questions that I was asking. Okay, trombone, hide and hack dev. So this hide and hack dev that we found that differs from all other hackdev devices is the early version of hackdev, and it remained in the game because not all the stuff was cut off purely. Some remains of code are thrown all over the game, so developers just forgot that there was like old version of this hackdev, and that there was like that room inside the case that was left. They did not knew that, and they did not knew about this locker that this code is still here. So this is remnants of some old code, and they remained only because developers did not knew what to they are still there. Okay, unused Sebastian models in green and white codes. Yeah, we found like a few models of Sebastian through the game. Let's teleport again to Nikki's room and see one of that model without textures. I actually was thought that this was idea for buying clothes by the Sebastian, and that's white clothes, as they look awesome. That this is like a looks clothing that was capable to buy like the shoes. By the way, shoes that we have bought in the shoe store, this red shoes, Eric thought that this was cut off from the game, and he was amazed that, oh, this option remained. That's weird. We thought it was cut off. So here's like one model, and it is not textured, but it looks pretty awesome, pretty cool. Like Sebastian in fancy white clothes is very expensive. Well, they look expensive, but this is just because it is not textured. So as you see here, the model has like a long coat, not this kind of jacket that Sebastian now wears, but long coat. So originally Sebastian was supposed to wear this long coat, and it represents more close correlates with the weather in the Dorisburg. But then Eric was tired of that model, and he asked the 3D modeler to change that clothes. So this is like a new version of the Sebastian. I also found recently like a woman that looks pretty close to Sebastian. She wears the same green jacket, the same clothing, but that is the woman. So if there would be a new interview, I would want to ask Sebastian about whether there was plans for a female character, so like players could select either they want to play as Sebastian or as some women character. Like that, I've stopped all the models of Sebastian. Yeah. We want to use these models in our mode in order to make like change clothes, Sebastian to change clothes. So he would have like 3 different types of clothing, but we don't know how to implement that because there's a problem with the switching main character as a playable character, and we don't know how those models are named and how to implement them in the game, because there is function in the game to create a new character, but all new characters are looking like Sebastian. Yeah, we can create new character, give them their own name. For example, I've created like a comrade Atomny in this game, but he looks the same way as the Sebastian. And there's no possibility to switch model like to some other model, and we don't know the names of these characters. So now security video cameras, I've told about that. Why there was cancelled quests with the ministry search and mutant plants. Yeah, there was like two quests that we found code in the code that there was supposed to be, and they are cut it off. I think there's more quests to that. The first quest is in the part, and it concerns the mutant plants. And what Eric told me that this quest was dull, not interesting, so they decided to cut it off because it was not interesting. Like the Ministry search, yeah, there is a remnants of code concerning security measures in the Dorisburg. So at the first place, they supposed that ministry workers would hunt down Sebastian if he do something illegal. For example, if he connects to the computer without permission and changes its code, then the ministry workers try to find those intruders and put them into jail. But it was then during testing, and this showed annoying for the players to all the time see those ministry workers. And as this game is developed for educational purposes, it is hard for newbies to not only program but also to trace down security and place down any security measures in order to hack some computer devices. So they cut it off all the security measures, and there is remnants of code about the ministry workers that search for the intruders. They like there is code, and it could be activated when the ministry workers see Sebastian with the modifying device. They come to him and place him under arrest, something like that. There is also some programs that pings down the name of the intruder. So they like when you're connected to them, they like take the name of the user and type down that this is intruder. But the code does not implement it, does not complete it. So this is the remnants of those ideas about security measures and security quests in the game. Why the hospital is broken and not implemented? As you know, there is in the game hospital, not interior but outstreaks, where there is broken hospital, it is closed down. So why it is closed down? There was no quests for that particular location, and the 3D developer, 3D modeler for this game, he was tired of making all those games, all those scenes, all those models, so they decided not to implement the hospital, and thus there was no quests in that zone. They decided, well, we don't need that hospital, so they did not complete the interior for the hospital and just made him that this hospital is just closed down, something like that. There is some remnants of code about a few quests in the hotel. I want to ask in a new interview about that, because there's like a broken fountain and incomplete control program for the systems of the hotel Devachka. Devachka means girl on Russian. How to modify Spark functions. We wanted to, there is an outsource code that we can download on the GitHub, but there is no description of the Spark programming functions, how they function and how to change them. So it is impossible to modify any functions of Spark in the game, and it is sad because, for example, these functions for robots are too bad to implement. We cannot write down in scopes how many meters must go this robot turtle, forward or backward. We cannot set the degrees of the angle on which it turns, so there's like only turns on 90 degrees, and that's all. And there is some other stuff. We cannot modify the vending machines in order to make them sell some other stuff. There's pretty much many things that could be updated if there was Spark DLL opened up, and we could modify them. But no, it's impossible to modify Spark anyway in the game. And we found in the files of the game like a file that named program language number 1, and this is was the first name of the Spark language. So there's like only 2 languages in the game. We thought that there was like 3 languages. No, there's only 2. There's Spark for programming all the computers, all the robots, and there's like Grim that could be controlled any object in the game, including characters, including all interactions. Like you see, I used here the Grim language in those command line, in that command line. Okay, if true, yes, I spoke about total robot commands, vending machines for clearing exact things on a factory. Yeah, there is like a function in the factory that called that produces some goods. It uses this refined ore that is then refined to this goods, it's called. Every good has different quality, like from 0 to 99 or something like that. And there is function that produces objects from these goods, and it does not uses any variables, so we cannot put there the type of the good we want to produce. It's just pre-written. But what Eric told us is that if you manage to write the cycle on the purifying machine, that it purifies goods to the better quality, that depending on the quality of the good, different types of objects are produced. And if it is like the highest amount, you can even produce a modifier. I and Vladimir did not test it that in the game, so I don't know does it really work or no. Okay. How to create Russian line in the menu for translation. Eric told that there is impossible to make other translations, like we can change language. There's like 2 options. So even though I made the translation of many dialogues into Russian, I need to switch the English files in order to run the Russian version of dialogues. It is impossible to add any other option in the game because this is hard-coded in the code of the game. Okay, where are text for road signs? Yeah, there is in the game road signs, and I wanted to change their names, like here, yeah. But Eric told that this is not the text, this is like pre-made pictures that are placed on the signs. And he told that at some point in the project there was like idea to switch textures of the different objects in the game, but then it was cut it off. So we came to the wall and changed the color of the wall, changed the texture of the wall, etc, etc. But then Eric just removed that option from the game. Okay, develop own code. What uses its own constant? How? I answered all those questions. What now? What now? What now? Yeah. Does Spark uses its own code standard? For programmers, there's like a common thing to use IC standard code of information interchange in order to code any symbols in the game. But Spark uses its own coding table. It has signs from -60 to 25 or 30, something like that. So all positive numbers represent the small letters, the minus the numbers below 0 to minus 60 represents both the big numbers and different types of the special symbols. Interesting that Eric implemented that separately in the game, that he does not use the IC standard for coding all those symbols. And I also spoke with Eric about his programming language that he named Carp after the fish. He created his own programming language, and it is now very developed. I proposed him to create a new game with the use of that developed language. He told like, hey, he would think about that, and if he would do any programming language, that would be not the continuation of Else Heart.break. That would be a different, totally different project, like that. So concerning the programming in this game, the creation of this game pushed Eric to create his own programming language, which he calls Spark right now. I proposed him that if he would implement that in the game, that would be a good point for many programmers, young programmers, to study his programming language and then to use it. But I don't know. He does not seem to be motivated to do those stuff. What the sub room at first? At first place there was a question. We see that Sebastian has a separate apartments that is not connected to the city of Dorisburg. It's like some different part of the world, and he travels to Dorisburg. And this looks weird because he took a very low-paid job, like soda salesman. I don't think that any company would pay money for the soda salesman in order to hire him a hotel, book him the tickets to the ship in order just to sell soda. So we decided in our mode to connect Sebastian room to the Dorisburg, like he is part of this town, and he is a citizen of this town. And we also decided not to kill his parents in the beginning, because after the first scene at home, when we arrived to Dorisburg, if you watch the code of the game, the parents of the Sebastian are killed. Very sad, but this is true. And Sebastian does not care about that in the game. So first apartment, a deed game represents a part of the developer's team life. Yeah, I'm a psychologist, so it is interesting how the things that created by the humans represents their own life. And this game does do that. For example, there's like a trombone in the game. It is because a few of the developer teams really played the trombone in real life. Like the Dorisburg city is a kind of harbor city that's situated near the water. And the Eric is himself lived in the harbor city in Sweden. And Sweden is very importantly connected to the sea, and this is represented in the game. The same case is concerned with the drug issue. Eric did not told the exact names, but there was people who are drug users in the game. Well, like light drugs. Yeah, there's like light drugs, and I noticed that because of that weird color scheme in the game. This weird scheme, it could be only created by the intensive drug users. Once time I've ate hallucinogenic mushrooms and see the hallucinations with those mushrooms, and it is pretty close to this color schemes that use in the game. So I understood from the first place that yeah, there was drug users in the game, and the theme of drugs are actively told through the whole game, because like there's drug users, there's you can use those drugs here, you can buy them. It represents the real situation with the younglings in Sweden, like that. And for me, from a former Soviet Union, this looks really awful. It's sad that the Sweden has such a problems, but their problems. Okay, carp language. What is programming language number one? Yeah, poetry in the game also represents like poetry of one of the sisters of the developers in the game. And the relations with the woman, yes, this is again problems that was connected to some of the guys that developed these games. Is it possible to switch main character? Yeah, it is possible. I've already done that. I switched the main character. The problem is how to set the camera follow the new character. What other things were planned and cancelled? He does not mention that. I'm like reading down the questions I've asked and what he has responded. Why you don't want to create new programming game with a carp programming language? He did not respond to that language, but I think that his life changed in a different way, so he does not interested in creating programming languages or other stuff. He's like demotivated with all of that. Judging from what he was saying, in what manner, what feelings he showed, he does not feel comfortable to make new games. Though he told that he would do something, that we would try to, but judging from the feelings, no, he wouldn't. How to add new things in the game, PCs or new turtle robots. It is impossible to add any other objects in the game, so you cannot copy like the turtles and make not 2 turtles but 3, 4, 5, 6 turtles. No, only 2 turtles available in the game. Only those computers and those objects that are already in the game, only they are usable. We cannot add any other models or create duplicates of the existing models. This is the limitation. It influences also the mod that we want to create with the Vladimir. He also runs a channel. He often writes down the commentaries under my videos, so you can go on his channel and watch his version of the walkthrough of the Else Heart.break. He goes in a different manner, a totally different approach, and he does some other stuff that I did not do. So those both walkthroughs are like helping each other, like working in a team, and both are equally interesting to watch and see different stuff to be done there. There is a screwdriver in the game. How to add more APIs? Yeah, I can show that screwdriver. And there is already Vladimir's code here. So yes, we have this screwdriver, and we have like 5 APIs that could be added to any computer in the game, like internet, a CAD floppy, and memory and door. But there was on one floppy said that there's like could be more APIs. Eric told that there is no new APIs in the game, at least you cannot add them with a screwdriver. But Vladimir looked through the code of the game and found that there are more different types of APIs in the code, but we cannot add them with a screwdriver. We can add them only if we change the code of the game, like that. Oh, why we can? Yeah. What does a QuickBoost do? QuickBoost function. He does not remember what. Eric does not remember what this function does. What else does computation except weird glow? Corruption. Yeah. What does corruption in the game? First, it was supposed to kill main character if the corruption was too high. but then this idea was dropped, so they cut that off, and nowadays the corruption only influences like graphical visual effects, and this is all. And only in the quests where the you can be volunteer in that experiment in which Ivan participated, we can be a volunteer instead of Ivan. And what's weird is because of the Ivan, everyone wants to say save Ivan. Like everyone is concerned, oh Ivan, we need to save Ivan. But when we was in that experiment, nobody cares. Like, oh, Sebastian was in that experiment and he was killed. Nobody came on that experiment. Nobody cares about that Sebastian is killed. Sebastian does not matter. But Ivan, oh, he's so important. And this is awful, I think. This shows that the many characters in the game have an awful attitude towards Sebastian, and they want just to use him. This represents parts of their life in Sweden. Is it possible, and how to control people with the programming in the game? In Vladimir's series, you can see how he controls many people, all the citizens of the Doris book in his series. This can be done with the use of green programming language, but not with the Spark. Well, exception that they can interact with some object, and this could be programmed with Spark, like that. In other ways, there's impossible to control characters if you do not use green in your code. And you can use green programming language if you find the recorder type of the computers. They usually one without the monitor, and use their function called broadcast. You can do that. Okay, does Spark reacts on mouse click events? This was asked by the Vladimir because he wanted to make teleportations by the click. And the Eric responded no, that it is impossible to intercept the information from the cursor and pass it to any programs in Spark. How Sebastian changes his shoes. Oh, yeah, we watched the code of the game concerning the buying shoes by the Sebastian. You see, I'm wearing this fancy shoes. At the beginning it was like green shoes, not so fancy. This red shoes, they are glowing in the dark, and this is really cool. But inside the code of that mission, inside the code of that dialogue, there is no code that concerned like how those shoes are switched up. And Eric did not mention how they are switching up. He told that this is the magic. It happens. Magic just happened. That's sad because it was interesting to know how this would be implemented and how to switch those shoes if we want to. And this is all. This episode took more time that I was thinking of. Yeah, it's like 43 minutes already. If you want to hear some other interesting stuff about the game, I would ask those questions to Eric, and maybe in some future we will have like a second part of interview, and then I will translate it and speak with you. Well, not translate, but just speak about what was implemented, because we spoke with Eric on English. We was English speaking with each other. So something like that. If you want to see more games that are made on two languages that I'm speaking, English and Russian, I also can speak Esperanto. German I know on level of A1, so it is hard to me to speak German freely. If you want to see more episodes with the bilingual speech, please write down if there would be more English-speaking viewers. Maybe I would even try some games only with the English language and see how would this go. Write down, please, your opinions about what games you want to see to be played, to be recorded as walkthroughs for you. For example, there's like on my channel there's a C-board game. This is a programming game where you use to program robots. It's something close to Else Heart.break. It's a 3D full-made game with the programming opportunities. So you can watch that playlist and you can write down what you want to hear and what you want to see. I would continue the bilingual speech experiment, and I need your feedback to in order to hear what you want to be translated into English. Not all the phrases, but the major points in the video that you wanted to hear that on English, you wanted to hear about that commentary on English, etc., etc. That would help me to make bilingual recordings better. And if there would be more English-speaking viewers, I'm thinking about that I would record some walkthroughs purely on English or Esperanto. This you might select both of that. Now this is all. Only victory, only revolution. Till the next time, dear viewers.